Thank you so much, Brian, and thank you so much for inviting me to talk to your audience today about KDB Plus, and really about how they can start learning it. Just a little bit about myself before I dive into what is KDB. So as you mentioned, I'm a developer advocate for Kx, which is the company behind KDB Plus. And my journey with KDB Plus started right after completing my mechanical engineering degree, which was a good few years ago now. I won't say how many. And as a junior developer starting off, I was first introduced to the world of KDB Plus while working in investment banking. Very much learning on the job, very much learning as I went, and really crucially from the people around me as well. At the time, there wasn't so much resources available for learning. And that's actually one of the key reasons I decided to make a move to become a developer advocate. I really wanted to help with opening up KDB Plus to more audiences and making it easier to learn, or at least opening it up to learn, because I felt like it wasn't that it was necessarily difficult, which can be the perception out there. It's just maybe, the resources weren't there at the time. So I want to kind of bring people up to date with where we are now and what we have.
That's awesome.
So what is KDB Plus or KDB? The words are used interchangeably. But KDB was the original database, and KDB Plus is a more recent version with more bells and whistles, but they're the same thing. And I do want to clarify some of the terminology because it does get a little bit confusing and people use things interchangeably. But first and foremost, it's a super powerful database for handling massive amounts of time series data typically. And its columnar structure really makes it so that querying is very efficient, especially with the columnar structure. You're much more targeted to elements of the data that you need. So for example, if you have your price column in a table of 100 other columns, if you needed to run some aggregation on that, even just like a max price over a number of years of data, you would only need to pull into memory that aggregated value of that one column. So you're not opening up to the full scope of the data. You're really just pinpointing what you need. That kind of element of how KDB Plus was designed and its ability to handle high volumes of data with really low latency really makes it fast. Another aspect behind what makes it really fast is the built-in programming language called Q. And again, people use the terms KDB Plus and Q interchangeably, but Q is one component of the whole overall KDB package.
Right.
And Q it's an interpreted vector-based language that's really built for speed and expressiveness. So it really allows you to get the best out of your database because of the way it's been designed. It is descended from APL and based on an earlier language called K, which was designed by Arthur Whitney, who was the original founder of KX. There's actually a great podcast called the Arraycast, and there's a group of APL and array-based language enthusiasts over there. So I would recommend anyone, if they want to check out and dive in to more of the low-level APL languages, if that really interests them, that's a nice resource for people.
Yeah, that's going way back.
Yeah, I can't say I'm so into the K side of things myself. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's KDB is it's an engine optimized for high velocity data analytics use cases. What it is it allows different types of data under one language. So you can have your streaming data, you can have real-time memory, and you can have on-disk data. And there is other time series databases out there and different columnar databases out there, or vector databases, but no other one really combines all three in one. And another key aspect as well is that you can use the same tech for your data storage as you do for your analysis. So say you have your Q functions written and you're running them on your streaming data, you can push that down a layer into your historical data, and similarly in your in-memory data. So it allows you to do everything using the same language in the same environment. And I think that's as well one of the key reasons why people love it, because it has the speed element of it. There's a few features on the right hand side here, things I've mentioned already. The analytics happen where the data resides, so you're avoiding pulling data from one place to another. Typically a data scientist might be working in Python and be pulling in their data from somewhere else, which does kind of slow things down. Yeah, we have the language, which I'll show a little bit about later, and things, the way that it's been designed, things like how your memory mapped files are in the same format, and the small memory footprint. If you actually download KDB and install it, it's about 800 kilobytes, so it's able to exploit L1, L2 CPU caches because of that. And yeah, some other nice things about the features of why we have the high performance is listed there. Now, what I really came to talk about today was where you can go to learn KDB.
Right.
So there's a few places. There's some of the kind of places that have been around a long time, like our documentation site, code.kx.com. It's got loads of tutorials and white papers as well. So it goes beyond just documentation, and it explains like the fundamentals as well as the advanced features of KDB as well. There are some really great books and publications dedicated to KDB plus programming, and even its application of financial analytics more specifically. So some of the really good ones are Q for Mortals by Jeffrey Barr. This one is actually freely available on our documentation site, code.kx.com. So the whole book is there, which is really handy because you can just search for the thing or function or thing you're interested in and find it in the book. There's also Q Tips by Nick Saris, which is a really nice introduction to the language. And it actually does focus a lot more on the financial use case and showing you how to build like a real life system and an engine that would be used quite commonly in trading environments. So they're really full of practical and valuable insights. Then we have our online training academy. And this has got courses suitable for beginners, intermediates, and advanced users of KDB+. And I'm actually going to take you on a little tour of that in a moment. We'll do a little live walkthrough to show you some of the really nice things we have over there to really help people starting out. And we also have events. So we're doing a lot more events and live streams this year than we've been doing in previous years. So we're going to be showcasing even more resources there, talking to people in the community, getting some users on to chat about what their use cases are and their implementations are, and just getting to connect with the broader community of end users and developers. We're going to be doing live streams as well. So at the end, I'll show you a few of them that are coming up. But feel free to connect and follow me on LinkedIn if you want to keep up to date with those. I'm usually posting about what's coming up in the next month. We do have other ones, in-person ones coming up globally as well. And finally, we have our online community spaces. So we do have a discussion forum section on our academy, which I will show in a moment. And we're also really active on Stack Overflow as well as our subreddit. So wherever you want to ask your questions, we have resources internally that will be reading those and watching them, making sure we have an answer for you and we're able to help in any way. So I'm going to just jump to the Kx Academy now, if that's okay, just to show a bit of a walkthrough of it. So this is completely free online self-serve training. We launched it about 3 years ago. We've recently done a rebrand of it, updated the LMS system that's running on it, and really wanting to invest in it this year and bring even more courses to people. So this was about breaking down barriers to learning it. We have the documentation site, which is awesome. There's books, but some people are more visual learners maybe, or they learn by doing examples rather than reading books and stuff. So it's meant to be complementary to those other resources, not like a replacement. So we have things like Kx products overview. So if you want to hear about what we have in addition to KDB, we have a quick course on that. And then we have, I guess, the meat of the academy at the minute is our KDB Plus courses. So we've got a level 1, level 2, and level 3. So I might just jump into level 1 to walk through that a little bit and show you what is in there. So this course, really, we designed the level 1 to give people an introduction to the basics of the Q language, enough to be able to query KDB Plus data effectively. So it's basically a taster course, and it gets you up and running. So say you're maybe in a bank somewhere, or you're working on a project and there's KDB, but you're not actually able to get the most out of it. It's a very practical introduction in that way. So you can see we have videos on here as well. So each of the courses have on-demand video tutorials. You'll see me in a lot of them as your instructor. And yeah, the really exciting thing, I mean, that's great, but I think the really cool thing that we offer on the Academy is the sandbox. So if you click this button, it will open a new browser. Now, the first time you do this, you'll just have to enter your email, but that's it. You'll get a verification email, and then you'll be straight into this fully hosted sandbox environment. So what we've done is basically put all our software on a live sandbox where users can come and experiment with our KDB products. So whether it's KDB Plus, it's our Kx Developer IDE, which I will show in a second. We have Kx dashboards up there. We have our Python interface up there. So this is to say, one click and you have kind of all of our software that you can play with, try things out with, and you don't need a license and you don't need to install anything. So again, just really trying to bring things to people rather than having barriers in the way of them getting it. That's the really trying to help people discover why KDB and Q are so great on our software. This here course specifically, we've ran it through a Jupyter Notebook, but you can see it's running on a Q kernel here, and you could switch it to Python or something else if you wanted to. So we like to use Jupyter notebooks for a lot of our courses. Obviously, they're very popular with students, and it's really nice because you can mix up like code snippets with the actual explanations and links and things like that. This introductory course, we have an introduction to Q SQL, which is the query language. So it's quite similar to SQL. So it's like a wrapper language around Q, just to make it easier for folks coming from that background to actually, retrieve their data. And I think for people doing data analysis and data science and quants, they'd probably be using QSQL a lot for that. At least that's what I've kind of seen. And you can get a long way with that. We also have sessions on joining data, different data structures, building your own functions, and then loading in your data and IPC. And IPC is when you have multiple processes, how you talk to each other. So I'll just hide that for a second, and I'll talk a little bit about the introduction to this course just to give a flavour. I won't go through it and teach it because the resources are up there and the videos are there. But the course starts off with a taxi data set of New York taxi and limousine data. Some of the other courses, the fundamentals course, they have financial data but we wanted to keep it generic at the beginning, just to kind of open it up to other use cases as well. We have some Q commands in here. So you're kind of getting straight into, okay, you've been given an entry point into a Q process or KDB system. What's the first thing you might want to run? And it would be the tables command. And when you execute that, you're basically getting back the names of all the tables in your instance. And you can inspect that just by calling the name of it. And you can see straight away you're getting your data back. And then when you go down and work through here, we've got things like running the meta command, which is how you would get the schema of your data set. As well, you'll see we've loads of links to our documentation site. So as I said, we're not trying to put the documentation on the Academy. We're just really trying to give you practical examples and then link and teach you where to go in the documentation. So, okay, this bit, I'm wondering about data types. I need to go here and learn a little bit about what are the data types and then bring you back in. And it's trying to guide you along, because in a real life scenario, if you're given access or you're learning Q, you're going to need to learn how to use this reference card on code.kx.com. Actually would become your best friend while you're learning, because it has every keyword, every operator. So whenever something new crops up or you're not sure of something, this is where you can go to. Basically just the reference card and dictionary for everything, which is really handy. And yeah, we've got the whole introduction to QSQL here. So it's looking very like SQL for people. Select from table. You can put your columns in here separated by a comma, and then do things like filtering. So we're adding a where clause at the end to filter out some rows we don't want to see. And then it goes into more detail on the structure of a KDB database, and then why certain queries run faster than why certain queries run faster than different ones, and that has to do with your KDB structure of your database and the fact that it would be date partitioned. And then, yeah, we link to things like the mortals here. We have little exercises for you to try, so you can test if you know the answer, and then you can run this actually to see the expected output, so you can really try and figure it out on your own. And then, obviously, if you get stuck or if you want to check, how your answer compares to what we would suggest, we have the solution button here.
Yeah.
So it's really about letting people have an interactive way to discover this, which hopefully, yeah, we've had some good feedback. We think people really, really like it. Another one of the courses I just want to show is our level 2 course, because that's where things kind of get even more exciting and fun. We're really teaching things from first principles here. So the most basic data object in KDB is called an atom, and multiple atoms would make up a list, multiple lists would make up dictionaries, dictionaries make up tables. So you're building up as you go and you're learning how to interact with each one. So this is really for the people who are like, yeah, I enjoyed the level 1 course. I actually want to get to grips with, learning this much more comprehensively. This would be the next place to go. And we have a level 2 capstone project, which we have as well for the level 3 course. And for the level 2 course, we have it based around a financial use case, and the level 3 course, it's based around a Formula 1 use case. So if I just launch this here, I think actually I have it open in another tab while that's loading. Yeah, so this is, rather than Jupyter Notebooks, we are giving you another option here. This is the Kx Developer IDE. This is actually free. The software, you can download it on the website if you want. We have an IDE. I mean, some people like using some of the other stuff that's out there, which is fine, but just to let you know, this is here. And we have a project here. So this is saying, okay, you're on an options trading team, and you're like a data analyst of a large investment bank, which typically that's a lot with the KDB developers out there might start off with in a kind of analyst role or data engineer role. And it's trying to give you a taster of some of the most common tasks that you might be asked to do. So you might start off, and this is my experience learning KDB. First off, I started off doing data loading tasks and cleansing data, stuff like that, very typical, and then moving into data analysis and reporting. So given 3 real life scenarios here, and yeah, you kind of, again, work through the course. You have hints and tips as you get along the way. And then one of the nice things about this one as well is at the end of each section, you can run this unit test and you can see if you failed or passed. So if you've managed to pass them, they'll all say true for success. And when you get to the end of the project, then once all of your sections are true, you can submit it. And you'll basically get a certificate over the academy. So you'll be KX certified, saying you were basically at a level that was good enough to pass the course. And this is really testing all of the modules that are listed out here on the left. Now, it's a lot of modules and it's a lot of videos, and it's really great. Some people might want to come and sit through the few hours and get it all done. I think a lot of people maybe might want to come in and learn a little bit, but try out the project to learn. So I would say that's completely fine as well. And we actually tried to enable that for each section where we're giving a task, we tell you which module that you kind of need to go and learn to be able to pass that task. And this one is our IPC module. This one you want to look at working with files. So kind of learning as you're going, but it's giving you a practical scenario in which you can learn this, which is really helpful because this is kind of what you get asked to do as a junior KDB developer in the wild. Yeah. So yeah, and I think I actually find, a lot of feedback for this is people keep coming back to these on a more modular basis. So for a refresher, you're getting asked to do something on your project with iterators or functions or casting and you can't quite remember, you can come back in and have a refresher. I actually certainly use it like that as well for myself. Go back and you can kind of dip in and out of stuff as well. So yeah, we have that one, and then that is followed by our level 3 course, which is, I'm not going to go into this in too much detail, but it goes on to things like data on disk, and this is getting into more of the advanced KDB plus topics. So you're no longer just sitting, you're not really the data analyst only now, or the data scientist. You're now becoming into like the KDB developer, managing the data on disk and optimizing it and making sure it runs as best it can. So yeah, that is very quickly. Is there anything else I wanted to say on the Academy? Oh yeah, on the launcher page. See, this is actually completely open for you to use. So I actually use
That's
this,
amazing.
like there's terminal here, and I have I use this for all of my development stuff daily because I just find it so handy. I can like check out my repos here and work from here, where it has everything, just for demos and stuff. You can see this is all the courses we have, and the content, and I think a lot of people don't know about this, so I did want to show it off a little bit because I think it's super useful. We also have our Python interface completely incorporated into that. So if you wanted to do the Python course that we have, so it's called Kx, our interface. So it's basically an entry point to KDB without the Q language. That software's up there as well. So maybe that would appeal to some other people as a first port of entry, before diving into learning Q.
Just one question. I know Q's the native language, but are you finding that the Python connection is getting as popular as Q itself? Because I can imagine the Python connection using the Python package for Kx is going to be a huge growth for you, because that's where the users are, I guess. So are you finding that at all?
Yeah, I mean, like the downloads, so it's on PyPy right now. PyKX, I think we have like 100,000 downloads. So yeah, it's much, obviously, because the user base of Python users is in the millions, and we're no longer trying to prescribe people have to learn Q to use KDB, but like we are trying to democratize it. So we want to have PyKX there to meet people where they are, and you can leverage a good amount of the capabilities of KDB within Python. If you really want to get the sub-millisecond value and really architect your systems to the best, you do need to get into the Q layer. Right. PyKX and Python, it's not a replacement for Q. Our core fundamental technology will always be built on Q, or built upon Q, but we're adding more and more functionality into the Python interface to bring more of that up to the Python users. But we do see it as like an entry point, and then afterwards, what we're finding actually is the users are then coming to us saying, "That's great, but like, can I?" It gives them a frame of reference, and then they want to learn the underlying Q, and then they realize it's not that difficult. It's not that scary. Like I showed you some of the Q SQL statements. Some of them are, it's like it's an entry point. It's a way to get people in, I guess. And then they kind of progress then to learn Q. I don't think it's going to be like a replacement necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of the certification that you offer, you say it's all free for people, but that's officially sanctioned from Kx yourselves, the company.
Yep. So you'll see on the profile. Where is it? I think it's in my profile, possibly. I've got, these are the courses I've done, and these are I should have more certifications than this. Wow. I do have them, don't worry. But so you can download this, you can post us, tag us or tag us on LinkedIn or whatever. And signed off by our CEO as well. So we really we want to open up learning KDB and Q to people. Us trying to, we really believe in offering free learning, because the more people that learn about it, the more we can like get rid of the stigma attached to it, as well. So I think it's a really good departure kind of from, it was kind of more like closed off in previous years, or maybe just there wasn't as much emphasis, I guess, on opening it up. But it's
so I know you guys are obviously focused in where your history comes from, finance, but what other market sectors are you finding success in, like medical or?
So I think probably after finance, the most common one would be manufacturing, actually.
Okay.
So we have actually a dedicated sensors product, which has got a lot of success there. So things like monitoring equipment performance, and optimizing like production processes. So, you're able to monitor the quality of a tool over time, and is there any anomalies, for example, just to make downtime a lot less and enhancing overall productivity. And the same in kind of automotive and aerospace in a similar kind of way, that there's use cases there. So I'd say that kind of area would be the next biggest one after finance. Obviously, KDB is most established in the finance sector, and it's still our biggest user. And because it has been designed for like time series, that's the industry that's most important for. But yeah, there's definitely other industries that we have a lot of clients that are really getting value out of it from.
So thanks. So I went through your trial, and there was no mention on. Is there a limit on how much data is available in the trial for the 1 year subscription?
There's no limit. There's no limit on data or memory or CPU usage. The only limitation is that it requires an internet connection. So that's really it's not suitable for production workloads. So we don't we do monitor if there was exceedingly high consistent usage that might indicate production. We might reach out, but it wouldn't trigger an auto shutdown of the license or anything like that. No, there's not any limits on that. Typically the internet connection usually stops that kind of usage anyway, because that would be something that you would require for production workload.
So in the secretive world of HFT, I know you might not be able to talk about it a lot, but I can imagine you guys are pretty well as standard in research and back testing and that type of research. But is KDB actually used in real world production with live trading at all as well? I would imagine it would be. Or
yeah, definitely. I'd say that's actually the more common implementation is the live trading use cases, because it's so well suited for capturing, processing like high frequency data. So for firms use it for algorithmic trading strategies and executing orders in real time. And that's one of the the core reasons it was designed in the first place, actually, is that for that use case. There's a ton of different use cases there. Yeah.
Because the one thing that was really impressive is how you built out these custom dashboards, and you have that one dashboard where it shows an actual live trading dashboard. I mean, if that's right out of the box, I mean, that's going to save a lot of time and development for a lot of people, and using KDB as the back end to do the live trading off of and leverage off the power of KDB. And you've already got the dashboard available there. That's kind of impressive.
So that is like a demo of like an example of what you could build with it. But we have actually you can get into dashboards as well via the sandbox.
You can. Okay.
Yeah, so you can see here we have some demo dashboards. I think the one you're talking about is in here as well.
Trade.
I think it's FX Book, maybe. Is it this one?
There was, I think it was called Trade, and it actually had that must be it.
Yeah, so this one is showing that you're capturing live order data. So all your currency pairs, I think these are called one-click tiles. So in a real life scenario, a trader would see the bid and offer price for a currency pair, and they'd be able to click on it and that buy or sell it, depending on what they want to do and what the dashboard's telling them. So that's actually live trading quote data, and it's changing in milliseconds. So yeah, no, it is. There's a lot of different demos in here, and these are really to like give users a flavor of what you can build. This is, by the way, called Kx Dashboards, which is, the dashboards platform built on top of KDB. And there is a free version of this as well on the website called Dashboards Direct. So as well, if you want to try out some of these dashboards, all the demos come with it. So you can go in and change them and like use these as somewhere to start, and then hook up your own data. So yeah, I did actually want to show the dashboards tool as well. So I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah, no problem. Because that was really interesting, because like that's something that's really mind blowing that you could do. So all of that's done within the Jupyter Notebook ecosystem, I guess, as well, right?
This is just anything within this here Jupyter Lab. Yeah, this is just, if you're seeing this edu.kx.com, that means this is the like education sandbox place. But if you did want to install this locally, you could just look up dashboards on our website and you'd be able to download it for free. So this is just obviously, again, serving it up to people so they can play around and try it out themselves without having to install anything.
That's the impressive one. From a trading perspective, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Ooh, I did. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'll just run through. No, I might just run through one or two more things just so your audience can keep up to date, if that's okay.
Sure.
So I did mention that we're trying to like make KDB Plus more accessible to all. So we really want to be like the engine to power applications. So we're really investing in interoperability with other languages like Python. And we have an SQL interface as well. There's a course on that in the academy. So really trying to meet developers where they are rather than prescribing what they have to use to work with us. The latest development really coming from us is KDB AI, our vector database, a reaction to the takeoff in the generative AI space. And then we also have KDB Insights, which is our product for having your KDB workloads in the cloud. So whether that's transitioning what you have, your KDB stack, or if you're a brand new user and you want to start off with KDB in the cloud, we have our KDB Insights enterprise product for that as well. Yeah, so
go ahead.
Sorry, go on. No, any questions on that?
It's just mind-blowing coming from just a back-end database and then adding the layers for the front end and now the connectivity into Python, and as you show here, VS Code.
Yeah.
And now adding on these new of the KDB AI and KDB Insights. Are you able to talk a little bit more about the KDB AI? Because I'm sure there's going to be that will be huge interest for a lot of people.
Yeah, no, for sure. We actually have a website, kdb.ai, specifically for that product. So I would say, like, this is how I think about it, because I came from KDB Plus originally and was very much in the time series database space. And we always use the term vector processing to describe traditional KDB Plus, because that's what it is. You're working on arrays and lists, and it's on a per column basis. This new wave of vector databases in the AI landscape is all about storing sequences of data of equal length called embeddings on a per row basis. And that can be on unstructured data or on structured data. So you might be creating your embeddings from images or, text data, like security filings or whatever it is for your use case. And they're stored on a row by row basis. So instead of, say, having a table of 100 rows or 100 columns, all your data would be grouped into an embedding and nested into one column. And KDB Plus has always been able to store data that way, but much of the focus has been on per column analytics. So for example, our Q SQL language and the Q language more broadly was designed for the per column analytics, which works really well for time series data. But for this new kind of embeddings data, we need a new way to interoperate or to operate with it. And that's what KDBI does. It makes that a lot more efficient. It has support for things like LLMs, etc., to be able to create those embeddings as well. So we're just one component. The KDB AI vector database is one component in the your generative AI application. But that's the kind of bit that's important. It's having that really optimized database to store those embeddings and then retrieve from it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just getting into machine learning and AI myself. I'm kind of like over 50, and I'm sure you know how that is when when you become like I'm already like bombarded with new stuff and whatnot.
I know.
When it comes to the cloud, I know that you guys are supported on the three major: Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Azure. Do you have your own solution? Because I've been a big fan of, I don't want to say the competitor, but there is a company that has their own cloud solution, and what they've done is the competitor, I think I've mentioned it, it's always been open source. Now they just went commercial, but there's always been the sponsor of the cloud provider to fund that competitor. And they've always added these new unique cloud type of features on the database. I mean, does KDB have their own cloud solution where they can add in their own unique features or new future features that would be different from if it was hosted on the 3 other competitors, I guess? That makes sense?
No, we really partner with the big cloud sources. We actually have something called Managed KDB Insights on Amazon, and it's on Amazon FinSpace, and it really removes the heavy lifting and building of maintaining a data management system for financial analytics. We also are on the Azure Marketplace, so we have a KDB Insights Enterprise variant over there. So we really work with the cloud providers to take advantage of the stuff that they're really good at. So scaling up in the cloud and all of the features and the monitoring and the management there. And then we bring, obviously, having the light touch really performant database on their cloud platforms. So it's kind of a collaboration there.
Wow, I mean, I'm blown away on just the new layers of things that you've added, just outside of being just a traditional database from, let's say, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah, I think the AI one is like only the last 12 months, but it's really interesting. We have a website, we have loads of documentation, and we have live streams every 2 weeks. So if that is something that interests people, like definitely join us on the live streams and we can have a chat over there. We have some upcoming events that might be more interesting for this audience. So I'm doing a session in next Wednesday with our head of data science, Connor McCarthy. And we're going to be talking all about PyKX, so bringing the power of KDB Plus to Python users. So that's it's going to be recorded as well and posted on our YouTube. So if anyone's interested in learning more about that and chatting to me or Connor, you can join that. And we have our meetups coming up this year as well. So there's one in London on the 22nd of May. You can just register for free. We have some coming up in New York and elsewhere. I haven't got all the locations or dates yet. But yeah, just to say, if you want to come and meet us or chat to us on some of these events, we'd love to welcome you and get to know people that are interested in learning about KDB. Yeah.
This is awesome.